Hey guys, welcome to my Culinary Academia. This is a new series that I'm starting, which will teach you the basics of cooking and how should you operate your kitchen. So this is my kitchen equipment three-parter, which will teach you how to use your kitchen equipment and what equipment you should have. So this is knife edition, and let's get started. First of all, let's just unbox our knives. So that's my beautiful knife set. I have about 6 of these knives, in addition to a cleaver, a sharpening rod, a whetstone and a mezzaluna, and the big daddy himself, the 10-inch knife. So with all of these on screen, let's get started with our first knife, the 8-inch Japanese style chef's knife. As I said earlier, this is a 8-inch knife with a wooden handle and a plastic bit at the end that would help you grip to it, and the index finger goes on the plastic grip, which then inserts itself to that curve, and it's gripped. Very firm grip. It's a stainless steel double bevel knife, which means it has 2 bevels. Now what is a bevel? You see that slant right there in the blade? Let me just focus. Yeah, that's on focus. You see that slant, that plane, and that slant towards the blade? That's called a bevel. A single bevel knife only has 1 of these, while a double bevel knife has 2. You can see that's slant. Double bevel it has on the opposite side as well. That's the bevel. Pretty sharp knife, and overall a really good knife. Helps me a lot in the kitchen. And this, actually, you have to use a saw action in this. Back and forth. You cannot go vertically up down. For demonstration, let's just cut an onion. You see the saw action? That's due to the curve that it has in the end. Now they're going to show some knife skills with the claw that you can see. You cannot even see the onion right now, nor can I. So I usually don't use knife skills because of the fact that I cannot see the onion because I have a very thick hand. So I usually use 2 fingers instead of all 4. That same technique, and again the onion is small, so that results in the thing. So I can pretty much see the onion. So, and a double bevel knife gives you really smooth and even slices, which helps a lot. So with this all done, let's keep our onions to the side, and we'll move to our next knife after just a little showcase of how good is this. You should always clean your knife after use, always. So let's move to the next knife. We have is a pear. It's generally not a pear, it's a double knife, same style, Japanese style Santoku chef's knife. This one's the 8-inch version, single bevel, and the most iconic feature of the Santoku knife is that the curve is actually not visible truly. This one is a single bevel knife. The 8-inch one that I have right now is a single bevel. You can get double bevel knife also in the same style, the Santoku style. See, the other side is plain, while this is the 6-inch version, same knife, but is double bevel. Now with these knife, I usually believe you should have, a small knife and a big knife. So with both of these you can go in the vertical version as well, and with the saw action as well. Now the 6-inch one has holes in it. That's because of the fact that it decreases air resistance. Also the handles, if you see, are really different because the 6-inch one has authentic Japanese handle, while the 8-inch one has been a little bit westernized for better holding. So just going to zoom in and see both the actions. Now let's position first, and that's the saw action. You see, single bevel gives you a really broad cut and sometimes misses due to the slight tilt it has. So it gives you a really broad cut. You can go both in the saw action and in the vertical action as well with Santoku style knives, because really the curve isn't really much there. So both, it's really versatile. You can see it's a really broad cut and really uneven from the top to bottom thing. So let's put the onions aside and use the double bevel one. Using both vertical and saw action, which gives you more of an even cut in your knives. So again, if you're really that kind of uniform guy, you use a single bevel knife. If you want a more even cut, use double bevel knives. I know I did show that piece of onion. That was just a side. No worries. Now get to these. Both of these are really great knives and you should have both of these. These holes are there to decrease air resistance, which, you know, the air passes through them and it gets really easier. You don't need to put as much force to cut as you have to put in other knives that don't have a hole in it. So both of these are really good knives. Next one, this is a 7.5 inches Nakiri style knife. Again, Eastern style. Really good. Looks like a cleaver but isn't a cleaver. And really love it. This can again go both the actions, vertical and saw like, because again the curve is pretty much not visible. And as for the handle, it has again been westernized. You can see the bolts there and that curve in the end to just hold your palm. So really cool knife. Really don't have many words to say for this. Can go really fast and it's really light. Yeah, Japanese style knives are really light to hold and go really fast, so just beware. Now the next one that is coming up is a sashimi knife with again a Indianized handle, because we do that to everything. It's an 8 inch sashimi style knife. If you compare it to the previous one, the 8-inch chef's knife, again the chef knife is much broader and has a bevel. This one has no bevel, that can just slice through straight slices. You doesn't need much, shaping of the cut. That's what the bevel does. No bevel. Like the Nakiri, I forgot to mention that Nakiri style knife also has no bevel, straight cuts, no shaping of your cut. So while the bevel actually shapes your cut to a more uniform thing, this doesn't have to. You just do straight cuts. Both Nakiri style knife and the sashimi knife. You can use the sashimi knife also as a chef's knife though, if you really feel that way. Those two are the example of a bevel knife, and those two are the example of a not bevel knife. Those are for straight slant cuts, straight cuts, so no bevel required there. And let's get these out of the way and move to the next knife, to the big daddy himself. We have our 10-inch European style, German style Wusthof. Really heavy duty knife. Love how it looks, how it shines through that amazing case it has, and just wow. Again, see, no bevel, German. Now it's much easier to make a bevel in this because it doesn't usually need to use for sashimi slicing and all that stuff, so it's much easier to use a bevel in this. Now how are these two knives different is because of that guard. Usually swords have to separate blade and all that, so that guard actually prevents your index finger and your thumb getting chopped off by the knife. And also the fact that the whole blade is molded once, including the handle. Let's compare these with other blades that I have. Really long 10-inch blade. Amazing. And see, the whole blade is molded once, even the handle and the guard. Then you have these plastic handle guards that are bolted in. You can see the screws there, and again, really good. Comparisons come in with the 8-inch chef's knife. It doesn't have that guard, but it does have a slot, and the knife is only molded to a certain extent, and then the handle is just inserted. It's inserted into the handle. It gives you a slot that prevents, but again, that's more dangerous than that. That's a proper guard, proper thick piece of steel that won't let your finger get cut. So that's for the really heavy duty knife. You can almost pass it off as a dagger, man. It's really that long, and love these attributes that it has. You can introduce bevel to it, but it would just remove off some of that guard and make it into a blade itself. So I don't recommend it, but yes, you can. It really gives you some even cuts because, again, no bevel. So the cuts are really even. Now there's some extra knives that I have. Now the first one is a bread knife, really just for carving breads and chocolates. It's also called a serrated knife because of the blade, this exact blade that it has. Really, you don't need it unless you bake a lot or use chocolate a lot in your cooking, so you don't need it. Then you have the second one, the cleaver. Again, it has that hole, using no air resistance, and even at its dullest it can actually just hack off any onion really well. So, and you don't need this unless until you cook meat a lot, alright, at home. So you don't need this, you just need to hacking off bones. And third one, and actually the really unnecessary one, is the mezzaluna. I only have it because I like it and a big Food Wars fan. So yeah, I have this, really great for mincing. Like, again, it can mince anything, and the fact that it has, again, no bevel and has two handles, so really manages to get you control across the blade, which is really great. And then just show you how you mince the thing. Just cut it in a few pieces. Just start hacking off in really motorized high speeds. So yeah, that's for the mezzaluna, and really great. Oh, some onion left. Alright, okay. Really great blade for mincing and chopping off. You shouldn't use it as, vertical or regular saw, and actually you will just, mow it down with both the handles. Now come to the auxiliary tool that you need. One is this honing rod. Really helps to have one. And this is a whetstone used for sharpening. Now you could buy one of those manual sharpening tools, but the problem is that they take a lot of metal off your knife. This takes minimal amount of metal and actually increases the lifespan of your knife. Now you actually need to get really pro with this to master it. So until then, just find someone who finds a sharp knife and do it with that, or practice as much as you can. Now this whetstone is a must have. Now you get the honing rod. Honing rod usually increases and improves the lifespan of your knife. It is like you every time before cooking or before using a knife, you should always use this rod to hone your knives, to temporarily sharpen them so that they actually don't lose a lot of metal while doing this. Now almost forgot about this one, a paring knife used to do micro vegetables and separate tendons from bones of meat. So really useful short knives and can actually kill people with one hit. So yeah, that's one order. So these are all the recommended knives that you should always have in your kitchen. Now between a Japanese style knife or a Western style knife, you can choose between whatever you like. I usually prefer the Western style knife, and you can actually replace the 8-inch Ying Fusion chef knife with this 8-inch Santoku, but I won't recommend that. The Western style knife, again, if you want that extra safety and extra weight to your knife, buy this. If you're more into light knives with more traditional things, use the Japanese style 8-inch chef knife. With that aside, let's get to a second knife, which is the 6-inch Santoku that you should always keep, because variety and size gives you versatility toward chopping. You have more control. Short knives give you more control towards the length that you are chopping, towards the onion for chopping. Long knives usually don't, but again, long knives look cool, so have fun at least. Now these two auxiliary tools that you must have, a whetstone and a honing rod, again improves the lifespan of your knife and increases the lifespan of your knife, so must have. Again, emphasizing on the whetstone. If you don't have the honing rod, it's fine, but please have the whetstone. It's really good for your knife. Or you can just have one of these that hack off a lot of metal of your knife and destroy it in a few years. Alright, you shouldn't work for a knife, the knife should work for you. That's one thing. The knife should work for you. You and your knife are one being. Just remember that. So yeah, really, just don't do it. Don't use this. Don't hack it off. With these aside, let's get to the extras that if you're into some special things. If you bake a lot, use chocolate a lot, cut breads a lot, have a serrated knife, it's your choice. Nobody's stopping you. Alright, really, but it has no use except just being there if you don't bake or bake chocolate a lot. The cleaver, again, if you don't work with meat a lot, you wouldn't have it. If you do work with meat a lot, please have it. Really useful for cutting up bones and deboning meats. But if you don't, it would just take up space. So yeah, that's what the recommendations, and thank you guys for watching. Those were my knife explanations and recommendations. If you like the video, please like, share and subscribe, and also comment what else should I do on this channel. And with all that done, without further ado, I would like to say goodbye, and also keep in mind that I'm actually going to post 2 more videos regarding pans and auxiliary tools. So bye.